works high above. Again, like Sydney, maybe giving the hint that we're about to have plenty on field as well. Gary Freeman with this long walk out. The Lion Red Kiwis, who caused the upset in Melbourne, way off their best in Sydney, playing on pride and plenty of test careers on the line. The reception will be less than warm.
That's an ideal reception there for the Kiwis, Graham, because the cannons are going off, the stage is set, it's a war zone they're coming out to. The look on their faces, they all know they've got the job to do. Gary Freeman there, big ask for him tonight, but he'll respond. He'll come up with the goods for us, I'm sure.
The determination showing on the face of Gary Freeman. Don't forget Winfield Cup points are up for grabs here. And we stand by for the national anthem of New Zealand. Naturally, they will now go near halfway to set themselves up to be led again by that young lock forward with a great test career ahead of him, Jarrah Nikau. He will lead his teammates as he has done in test number 1 and also test number 2. He just awaits to do the haka as Gary Freeman joins Mal Meninga to toss the coin to decide which way these two teams will run. Freeman comes back to join the line as they perform the haka. Nikau, Mercer, Mann, Brown, Dwayne Mann and Todd. So that's the changes in this lineup from the second test. Now we're down to the first 40 and New Zealand to really make sure that they can keep this series travelling till half-time. Boddicker gets us underway deep. Down for Eddinghausen. Meninga gets deep to support him. Taken in good defence though. This will be vital, the first 10, for New Zealand to settle down. Salvatore hit very quickly. They come up and stop him right where he has to be stopped, that middle of the ruck. Now to Bella. He takes over, charging at the line, getting it away from the 22 just a little. Walter's looking over the shoulder. Maybe they'll kick on early tackles. There's a hand in the play of the ball. This is not how they should start. Giving away an early penalty and letting Australia off the hook.
Well, Gary Freeman's going to have a couple of quick words there because, as you're saying, it's not how we should be starting, and it's undue pressure.
So the replay where there was a couple of hands in the play of the ball. Todd and also Dwayne Mann as Bella was trying to get to his feet. The difference being shown here as the Australians have possession through Bella. He throws himself at the line and he travels 5 metres behind it. He turns them around. That's the roll-on that the Australians got in Sydney. Now it's Clyde. Right in midfield, starting to launch a raid at the danger zone for New Zealand. Walters up the middle. They went to sleep. Looking for a quick play of the ball. Langer to set the backs alight. Jackson with a fumble behind him. Still play on. And Australia lose about 15 metres. Eddinghausen up in the line. Langer kicking. Wisharter's out wide, the bounce. It comes clear. The Australians have it with 6 more. Right from the start, New Zealand on the ropes. Langer getting a ball back. So it is still only 8 metres away. New Zealand right on their line. Guy to get it wide to Jackson. Another kick. This time New Zealand recover. So not a good kick from Jackson. And that will ease things for New Zealand and for Bob Bailey. He now thinks that he can get away with not having too rocky a start.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of pressure on Bob been throughout this week, but again, I think he's got the players' minds on the job, Graham, and they've been given a serve by everybody, including me, and I know Bob's given them a big serve. The pressure's on these players tonight, and I'm sure they'll come up with the goods for it.
Todd now taking over, trying to do what Bella did a couple of moments ago. New Zealand's last series win was back in 1953 when they won the first 2 tests. This time round, to improve the situation some 38 years on, they will have to do it in a decider. Now the Australians talk back to John Holdsworth and get marks past halfway. They were penalised. They had plenty to say after this tackle was made on Peter Brown and Holdsworth. I think it was Salvatore who had something to say to him. And the Kiwis travel down near the Australian 22. Good opportunity here for them in the opening moments. Brown goes without. Trent to Freeman. Powerful run from George Mann. One of the changes from that second test. Todd gets over the advantage line. Crunching defence from Martin Bella. They push him back. 32 metres away. Brendan Freeman on a run around. Looking for McCracken. No room to move for him. Bren decided to hang on to it. Now Freeman kicking. The angle for the sideline. Eddinghausen will leave it alone. Good passage of play for New Zealand to try and settle down. Yeah, but I hope it's not going to be indicative of what's going to happen during the game there, because those Australian players were inside the 5 there. John Holdsworth was pointing at them on the right-hand side of the field. I hope he's going to do more than point at them. Otherwise, it's going to be a trying night for us. He's got to stamp his authority in that 5 metres immediately, because Australia will take more advantage than New Zealand will. Tremendous atmosphere here. Remarkable sideline. Huey McGann, how have you felt this Kiwi side has settled into it?
Well, after the first couple of mistakes that New Zealand made, especially around the ruck area where they tried to clean up their ruck, made early errors with Walters making a couple of yards and Alan Langer. Since then, New Zealand have been on the ball. They've taken the game to the Australians. The defence have hit hard and in attack have thrown the ball around, and hopefully that's the way we're going to play for the rest of the evening.
They do it right now. Jackson bustled by 3 Kiwis. Geyer. They still have some trouble getting away from their 22. New Zealand will be looking to put some pressure on the kick here too. Touch judge coming in. Australia in possession, so this is likely to go against New Zealand. When they come down here, they can't afford to give penalties away. They want to make Australia do it as tough as possible at this end of the field. Now, Nico is called over. Dean Lonigan looks on sideline, the man who missed out because of a torn hamstring. The penalty will go to the Kangaroos. Geyer took it up strongly. Taken by Todd and Nico. Some swinging arms there. And really didn't look to be a lot in it, though. I think the linesman took offence to the foot coming up, Graham, even though there was nothing intentional in it. Nico was stunned, the look on his face at the fact that he was going to be cautioned over it, but the advantage lies with the Australians. Mann now tackling and throwing Gillespie to the ground. Graham, I'm already a little concerned. There's a gap behind the New Zealand play the ball area. Clayton Friend is playing behind there as a sweeper, but there is a big hole immediately behind the New Zealand play the ball area of probably 20 metres. Australia's going to capitalise on that if they're not careful. Well, here's the authority that you said from Holdsworth. This time it goes against New Zealand. A chance at goal for the Australians. Well, I just hope he's going to do it both ways, Graham, because I was watching you earlier play the balls when New Zealand had the ball. He has pointed at Australia now 4 times and hasn't done anything about it. There's no good pointing. He's been here. He knows what's required from these Australian players. You've got to jump on them straight away. No good picking on New Zealand, starting on them. He's got to be fair dinkum, be even. If there is a tough ground anywhere in the world for a referee to be ridden by a home crowd, is this it? It certainly is. This will be the... John Holdsworth has refereed all around the world, but this will certainly be his... he won't
he won't experience antagonism towards him or influence towards him anywhere in the world like he's going to experience here tonight.
Meninga with the first chance at points in the decider at Lang Park. He relaxes at the end of his run. He has done this countless times at this ground. He is taking plenty of time over this one. Strikes it well. Does it have the legs? It does. The skipper, Meninga, says a big yes to the penalty. And the crowd roars here as Australia takes an early break. Desperate look from Bob Bailey as it's 2 points to 0. Salvatore just short of the 22. Bradley Clyde now coming away from the 22. John Holsworth gives away another penalty. So Jackson will kick for the sideline.
There's a few Kiwis out there giving the referee evil glares at the moment for mistakes that they're making themselves. They've got to get their act together in a hurry. There's no good prancing around like one or two of them are doing already. They're being penalised because they're playing dumb.
The Australians getting it out wide now. Wishart. Walters looking back for some supports. This time it's Salvatore. Australians get pushed over, and another penalty. You can't put your hands on a man in the play of the ball. George Mann gets marched. You can't lay your hands on a man in the play of the ball. Now, whether or not Salvatore, he copped a knee there from George Mann initially, and you just can't lay your hands on the man. Silly penalty from New Zealand.
It was a silly penalty, but I think John Holdsworth has got to be careful he doesn't get carried away here, because that penalty could have quite easily gone the other way. It sucked George Mann in, but it could have quite easily gone the other way. But New Zealand has got to get their act together.
Meninga settles for this goal given away, not by Dwayne Mann, but George Mann. Now, be careful here. Look for a knee originally from Mann. Bang, there it came there. That's what Salvatore resented.
Yeah,
so I think the knee was missed originally by Holsworth as well.
Yeah, it was. He missed the knee, but he's going to have to be careful because Australia, they are experts at this, but more to the point, our fellas have to get their act together. Just clear. There's no advantage whatsoever, none whatsoever, in touching a man in the play of the ball area.
Meninga trying to improve the scoreline for the Australians. Right in front, 40 metres out. Meninga's got the right boots on so far. And the Australians now, they add another goal, and they take it to 4-0 over New Zealand.
I wonder why he couldn't do that in the State of Origin series, Graham.
He hasn't kicked well all season, has he, really?
No, he hasn't, but he's a big-time player. He will respond tonight.
Bella. The ball was travelling at great speed. He took it well, and then he got put down heavily by Iro. Great hit from Iro on Bella. Now, this is where New Zealand have been putting the pressure on, but then through some penalties, letting it off. Clyde breaks one tackle taken by Brown. Jackson to the fringe of the ruck looking for a runner. He couldn't get support, but he breaks clear and gets it 32 out from his own line. A bit of a roll for Steve Walters. That's the gap that Graham Lowe was talking about. Clayton Friend had to put a plug in it. Now, Jackson, he's got numbers. He's thinking about keeping it, travelling out for Gaia to Wishart. The Australians put it down. Signs there that they could find a bit of a gap up the middle and then maybe stretch them out wide.
Yes, that's the danger area also, all right for New Zealand.
It was Jackson who got it to Gaia. Good hands. He is a problem when he gets wide, Gaia.
Yeah, well, that's what bothers me about tonight, because he's a He is a dangerous attacking player. They go on about his defence, but he is a dangerous attacking player. Another bad mistake by New Zealand here that, you know, unfortunately things are just slipping away from us.
Ettinghausen. The role of play has all been Australia. New Zealand do need a couple of breaks. Some drop play from the Australians. Even some penalties from referee John Holsworth. Geyer again very wide. Still in the Australian half though. Bella takes over. Straight at Nikau. He gets him low, puts him off balance. Very quick play, the balls from the Australians. They're trying to play it at breakneck speed.
You said it, that's the difference at the moment, Graham. The Australians aren't being slowed down to play the ball at all.
Jackson. Salvatore to the 22. Last tackle. Langer. Langer to Geyer. Geyer kicks ahead. The situation is saved by Watson, but he'll be put dead in goal.
Dangerous time just at the moment for New Zealand. Gary Freeman's got to get hold of everyone and settle him down. This was big danger by this man, Alan Langer. And again, the attacking skills of Mark Geyer. He's more than just a big hitter. He's a dangerous man on attack. And he's going to have to be carefully watched out wide.
Great tackle from Ettinghausen, but good play to cover that one in the end goal just the same. Interesting, the penalty situation. New Zealand, we talk about them giving away too many. Well, the Australians have those penalties, 5-2. But it's something for the Kiwis to start thinking about. Langer, out wide they go. Jackson has somebody inside. It was Daly. What a ball around the corner for Meninga. Meninga gets it to Clyde. Clyde is only 5 metres away. New Zealand on the rack. Langer. Plenty of possession for the Australians. New Zealand need the ball. Daly. Daly reaching out. Remarkable defence to save that one. Walters from dummy half. Held up over the line very cleverly. Marvellous scrambling.
There's also great defence by Gary Mercer. That's two, I think, certain try-scoring movements Gary stopped over there. He's done very well. He's covering the field like a little terrier at the moment. He did well for New Zealand then, and he certainly dragged us out of the car.
It was Walters who was trying to crib across. Look at the determination. 3, 4, 5 New Zealanders making sure they got under the ball.
Graham, these areas here, I think that both McCracken and Kevin Iro are going to have to come in closer to the ruck, try and take the pressure off these forwards, because we need some big men with explosive power to come in and just try and give us a break. At the moment, we're just hammering away and not getting anywhere. I think that Kevin and Jared McCracken should both get in closer, try and get involved in the play, maybe 1 or 2 off the ruck instead of just waiting out where they are.
Start again from Dave Watson, and Kiwi, I just get the feeling that it's a little bit like the Sydney Test, where the possession is all Australia's and New Zealand making a lot of mistakes.
Making far too many mistakes at the moment, Graham, and they're just bringing it upon themselves. And when they do get the ball, they're doing silly things with it. What we've got to do is exactly what George Mann's doing.
Now it goes to Iro. So they try to catch Australia on the fringe. And this is just what New Zealand need. At least Holsworth is being consistent here. The Australians were holding down the Kiwis, who were looking for a quick play of the ball. Freeman was back on the inside after Iro nearly got clear. And it was Steve Walters and also Jackson involved.
I think New Zealand should take a leaf out of Australia's book there. They are making sure they put Gary Freeman on the ground. We've got to do the same to the halves in the Australian side.
The ball weighted out to George Mann, who's trying to get wide like Geyer is in the Australian side. Now Todd doing the hard meters up the middle. Friend switching it to Freeman. Now to Iro. Taking on Daly head-to-head. He needs the assistance of Jackson to put the big man down. McCracken yet to have much of a touch in this match with the ball. Dwayne Mann hammered in defence by Bella.
There's no way in the world those Australian players were back 5 metres. Again, Holdsworth just pointing at them, waving his finger at them and watching them move up.
Boddicker with the kick. Eddinghausen takes it beautifully, running back to his own line. Good chasing from New Zealand, although they leave a little bit of room for Wishart. Now Holsworth currently has the New Zealanders back about 8 metres from that play of the ball. Australia on an early tackle, confident to go wide to the back line. Jackson with a slow play of the ball. George Mann there doing his best to stop the Australians from getting too much of a roll.
That gap behind New Zealand's play the ball area is getting bigger and bigger. Clayton's in there covering it, but it's a big ask if one of those big front rowers come buzzing through there for Clayton to have to pull him up.
It's a case of the birthday boys here at Lang Park tonight. George Mann 25 today, Ian Roberts 26 today, and the Australian team on the bench. Great run from Bella, and as we said earlier tonight, Alan Langer was 25 yesterday, so both teams looking for some celebrations for the birthday boys. Boddicker getting across to this kick. He gets an awkward bounce. Now it sits up for him. He beats Geyer, and he takes it to the 32 as New Zealand start to enjoy a little more possession. Quickly out past the 40. Watson, who has been busy from the far wing. Todd with a strong run up the middle. Dwayne Mann looks to Peter Brown, and it was a very skinny 5 metres from the Australians. Watson taken by Wishart. Now Holsworth let the Australians again travel easily past him in the 5 metres. Ball gets back to Friend, knocked on. Australia have it.
There's no way in the world New Zealand's going to be able to attack out wide while the Australians are playing that umbrella-type defence from an offside position.
Now Holsworth,
he's got them back 10 yards.
He's laying the law down to the Kiwis. Right on the 32 in midfield, Australia, they can set either side of the ruck. They stay left with Martin Bella. He breaks 2, gets the ball down to Eddinghausen. It was a difficult pass. Boddicker knocks on. It comes back to the original error from the Australians, and it will be a New Zealand scrum feed.
Remark again, Graham, I think it's important that both McCracken and Kevin Iro come in closer to play the ball area and try and pick it up quicker rather than wait out in their centre positions, because we need their explosive running. At the moment, we're just being bugged down. There's no way in the world we're going to get through.
Boddicker with a bit of a surge down the blind. From a long way back, Mercer tackled quickly by Clyde. Friend to Todd, getting a little bit wider himself. Friend again. Freeman, the combination that took New Zealand into the 88 World Cup final at half and 5/8. The ball rolling to the sideline, but it stays in play for Eddinghausen, chased by Iro and tackled by that big combination of McCracken and Iro. Daly doing some work for the forwards. Great tackle from Todd as Daly was trying to get clear. Now Bella, who is working overtime.
He's playing. He's looking very, very dangerous the way he's running, but he's being allowed to gather steam, and he's stepping back inside to that area where New Zealand hasn't got the ruck area covered, straight in behind the play of the ball.
Quick hands from the Australians. Daly back to Meninga to Eddinghausen. Eddinghausen, the dummy, they took it. Now he floats it back, and Willie Kahn ignites Lang Park with a spectacular try. That was classic rugby league. Difficult to defend against this sort of play. They cut loose with some powerful centres and plenty of speed. They held them. Now Bob Bailey knows they were busted out wide. On the Cadbury-Moro replay, good ball back in from Daly. The Canberra combination to the Cronulla fullback Daly. The dummy was taken. Brent couldn't match it with pace. He lobbed it out for Kahn, and he put it over for the first try.
That try was started off by the forwards earlier than this, but the Australian backs, started by Daly, there's turned the New Zealand side around. They've turned the whole New Zealand back line around. Everyone's in 6s and 7s. A desperate tackle there by Gary Mercer, but unfortunately we're just not up to the big ask.
One thing we've got to look at here is the way the players are thrown. Their quick passes out wide. Gary Freeman was actually caught out of position there, coming round from behind. Wasn't quick enough to make the tackle. Inside to Meninga, Eddinghausen, throwing dummies left, right and centre, and tackles being missed again. Unfortunate for New Zealand, but if they're going to do anything tonight, they have to make tackles. If not, that's what's going to happen the rest of the night.
Willie Kahn showing the signs for the coach, Bob Fulton, high up in the stands, that this side can continue on from Sydney. Meninga from way out near touch, 198 points for his country, and captaining his team in the green and gold for the first time at Lang Park. A very still night here. It's been a gorgeous day in Brisbane, around 22, 23 degrees, and a perfect night for rugby league and a test series decider. Meninga, 2 out of 2, make it 3 out of 3. It is the dream start for the Australians. 10-0 they lead, just a little bit past midway in the first half.
It was unfortunate for New Zealand there, Graham, but I called Gary Mercer over on this side being turned around, but unfortunately it was Clayton. He had to cover across from the centre area of the ruck. New Zealand bench is looking very, very, very concerned there, but we've got to try and get better field position. We haven't had field position in their 22-metre area at all. That try was started by a strong run by Martin Bella on the other side of the field. Quick play the ball, and they just caught us on the others back on this side.
It's remarkable you talk about the possession.
Ian, can I also...
It is nearly 2-1 in favour of New Zealand, in favour of Australia at this stage, and as you say, not one play the ball for New Zealand in the Australian 22. Kiwi, what about this defence? This is better from New Zealand.
It is better from New Zealand, but one thing they're not doing, they're not moving up together as a line, and when they are moving up, they're moving up in ones and twos, and that's giving players like Walters and Langer holes to run into. We've really got to pick that up if we're going to go anywhere later on in the year. But defence, that is something we have to really pick up at the moment.
Iro, he will have to show something special. He's gone looking for the ball. Now New Zealand are a little bunched. Bob Bailey, knowing that they need to score, knowing that they have to be the next scorers, they can't afford to let the Kangaroos get away again. George Mann breaking one tackle. Still standing and unloading to Nikau to Mercer. He sights a gap, puts the foot down. The Australian defence maintains its line, though, both sides of the ruck. Freeman trying to break it up a little, but Langer read it. And he got into the open spaces there, and he's finished off strongly by McCracken. Still this pace from the Australians in the quick play of the balls. Wishart will play it just inside New Zealand territory. Jackson, Meninga, again it's the overlap. Daly to Kahn, back to Daly. Smart play, Clyde.
Very skillful play there by Australia. You've got to have to take your hat off to them. Bradley Clyde, he's a wonderful player, and Laurie Daly there, the two of them just must be two of the most outstanding players in the world.
Now they turn Langer back on the inside. Do they keep their line? They do. But Gillespie is allowed to unload. Bella. He is giving a free ride to Gary Freeman down near the 22. Possession is all Australia. They need the ball, New Zealand. Jackson to Salvatore. Out it goes to Wishart. Wishart looking outside. Meninga on Bonica. The big man wins. New Zealand just haven't seen the ball. The Australians plenty of it. And they are doing some brilliant things with it. From one side of the field to the other. And they have busted them again. Salvatore helped set it up on the Cadbury Moro replay. They had stretched them to the right. They brought it back to the left. Salvatore floating it out wide to Wishart. Now it's 6s and 7s. They couldn't scramble out of this one. And a good big man on a good little man. As I said, the big man won.
Yeah, well, again, this was smart play by Australia there. Good strong run by Salvatore. Sucked in the defence, but still able to maintain an unmarked player out on the flank there. A loop around by Mel Meninga. Just a superb try. Frano Botica was just too small to stop that movement.
Exactly what you were saying first. It all started from Martin Bella, made good yards right up the centre. When you get players like Mel Meninga and Rod Wishart running out wide, scoring tries like that, New Zealand are really in for a tough night.
Tough night indeed, as Meninga gives a salute to the Lang Park crowd. Right out on the chalk. 3 out of 3 for him so far. Larry was saying that he is a big match player, with the possibility of this being his last test at Lang Park. He wants to wave goodbye, maybe, in the biggest possible manner. Meninga to put the New Zealanders into a real hole. He drives it low and hard, just under and just wide, but an impressive start for the Australians. All the possession, and they have it 14-0 with about 12.5 minutes before half-time. That will start worrying this New Zealand bench.
One of the problems New Zealand's facing at the moment, Graham, is that with Clayton playing behind the line in defence, the Australians are driving hard down the middle, or driving hard just to one side. They're drawing on a lot of defensive players, moving it quickly to the other side. With Clayton playing behind the line as a sweeper, Australia has always got an overlap. I think it's probably New Zealand may have to adjust their game plan a little bit, get everybody up in the line and mark man on man. At the moment, it's not man on man in defence.
It's got to be a critical mental stage now too, because they would be thinking now with this start by the Australians, they would be thinking in the back of their minds about Sydney.
Well, that's right. I think that they have actually started with far more commitment than they did in Sydney. It's just things haven't gone quite right for them. They've given away a lot of silly penalties.
And they need the ball. It's the Australians again coming up with it. Geyer playing it back to a confident backline. Jackson. Salvatore, now's their chance. Iro has it. Breaks the tackle of Gillespie. Up the middle, he's finished off and tidied up by Langer. Now Todd quickly to the advantage line. That's what they need.
They need to get the ball over to the far side of the field, over to either this side if they're coming to over
here. Here goes Clayton Friend. He's got Freeman coming. He throws the dummy. Luckily for the Australians, Jackson was out of the line and back covering with Walters and Eddinghausen. Now the Australians way offside. Iro. He has a teammate in the road. Dwayne Mann will stay there this time as dummy half. Short blindside for Peter Brown. Beating the tackle of Langer, and then he hands it back to him. And look at the numbers here for Australia if they decide to use it. But Salvatore head down towards the 22.
Well, that was criminal, that, because New Zealand were not allowed to attack properly because the Australian backline was just miles up offside, and Holdsworth has done nothing about it. He's continually pointing at the Australian backs and telling them they're offside, but not penalising them.
Daly allowed easy space up the middle. Also Walters, too easy. Right near halfway. Daly is first receiver for Jackson to Meninga. Meninga stepping. He brushes away his Canberra teammate Brent Todd. No love lost here. It's Test football, and the Australians want the tag of world champions. Daly. He's been a problem out wide, as has Clyde.
You see, that's what Australia's doing. They're actually playing Bradley Clyde out in the centres, and that, coupled with the fact that New Zealand's playing a sweeper behind its defensive line, is just getting them the two-man overlap continually.
The ball looking as though it might have just gone slightly forward, allowed to continue by Holdsworth, taken by Boddicker back to the 22. So he diffuses the situation, and Todd will have a quick restart. Still, there was 3 and 4 Australians trying to get back on side.
It's important New Zealand gets away from trying to take them on down the middle. They've got to get it to one side, stretch them out like a rubber band, drive down this one side, compact the defence more, and then attack with the backs. Get Iro and Jared McCracken involved.
Brown takes a heavy tackle low from Bella right on halfway. Friend, who made that break that could have led to something. Freeman back on the inside, Mercer's gap. He goes clear. He looks for McCracken. McCracken puts the foot down. Eddinghausen won't get him. Great try. They knew they had to bounce back. They had to be the next scorers. And McCracken, with his first opportunity, Bob Bailey's unmoved, but he has scored close to the post to bounce back. Some great play from New Zealand to give Australia something to think about. Friend on a run around with Dwayne Mann, cleverly thought out. Mercer busted them up the middle. And just look at this man, McCracken. He sighted the try line, he put the foot down, and he waved everybody goodbye.
Great try that, but again, it was started by good positive forward play on this side. Well thought out by Gary, as you said. Again, and the big centre, Jared McCracken, coming in as support. He's got what it takes. He's got plenty of steam, plenty of power. He knows where the try line is. That's what New Zealand has got to continue with doing.
That's exactly right, Graham, and the way that we're throwing the ball around here and changed the direction of play. Gary Mercer, a lot of mobility for a second row from the wing, finds a centre partner in Jared McCracken. Too much pace for the cover defence. That's where we've got to score.
That's put a smile on the faces of all the Kiwis here at Lang Park, and the Cadbury Moro replay showed it perfectly, as it does now. Boddicker drills it down the middle. We've got a test match back on our hands. Plenty of confidence for New Zealand and a little bit more possession as they get within 8 points here in the test match decider. 7 minutes away from half-time, and it's 14-6.
Graham, you questioned just a little while ago how New Zealand was going to respond. Were they going to think they're back in Sydney? Were they going to be up to the task? Well, they've done it now. They've broken through Australia, but they've done it by angles, changing angles, bringing the ball from over to the left-hand side of the field, shifting it back quickly to the right, changing angles with support players. If you run straight at Australia, if you take them on straight down the middle, you'll get nowhere. That try was worked through angles by stretching the Australian defence across the field, making them brittle in the middle, and then just beating them with angles.
This man is having a good first half, Mercer.
Yes, well, he's done a great job since switching in from the wing. I think Brian Johnson, the Australian coach over there in Warrington, put him in the second row. Gary's worked very hard on weights. He's now developed into a good working second row. He saved 2 certain tries over on the far corner there early in the game, and he's certainly making his mark now.
But this is where they've got to stay awake. They can't afford to let it go again. If they can stop Australia from scoring before half-time, then the second 40 might make the Australians think about Melbourne. Daly gets it wide, and there's numbers. A chance here. Geyer, chased by Freeman, harassed by Freeman, and finally put down.
See, Melbourne Ingle was able to play the ball very quickly, and when both McCracken and Kevin Iro were at the marker position. That's very dangerous for New Zealand.
Langer, the key man in Sydney. He was put to a full stop by Brent Todd back on the inside. Bella, from a standing start this time, not charging as he was before, but he still makes good ground. Clyde, the Canberra connection again. Daly passes it to Nikau. He heard the call. I think he thought it was Meninga. So New Zealand survived that one, and Hugh, the vital time as always with any rugby league game, 5 minutes out from half-time.
Exactly right. 5 minutes from half-time. We've got to look to sustain where we are at the moment. Not do anything rash, not try and play a panic or catch-up football this early stage in the game. Still a long way to go, another half. But mistakes like that, certainly, we're not going to be in any good position if Australia capitalise on it.
Well, those mistakes again put the pressure on. Meninga to Daly. Daly to Jackson. Jackson back to Daly. It is easy for the Australians to change it all up because Jackson can be in the centres 1 minute, then at 5'8". Likewise for Daly. Now chances. Langer showing it inside. Off the ground. No, said Holsworth. Said he wasn't tackled. Jackson. That was an interesting call. Now Jackson stands.
Yeah, well, I'd like to see that again on replay, Graham.
That could be vital. Meninga out wide. McCracken in the way. Meninga tries to get it around the back. He's still going. Only 2 metres out. Geyer throwing a dummy. They shut him down, and Australia will have one more play the ball. Now Geyer just rolled it back. He has to be penalised. The way he tried to do that, he's got to be penalised. Silly play from Mark Geyer. The Australians were on the attack. He's called a handover for losing it. Well, he should have penalised him.
That was a ridiculous decision. That what Australia's doing at the moment, they're playing Mark Geyer out on the left-hand side of the field in the centres and Bradley Clyde on the right-hand side. that's what's causing New Zealand all the problems, because they're having to face not only the attacking force of Daly and Meninga in the centres, but also those big rampaging back rows. New Zealand's going to have to adjust its defence. Talk about this at half-time. When they go in, they'll have the opportunity to see what's happening out there, discuss it amongst themselves, and alter their defence.
I said to you before, as we see them go down to their last tackle on this set of 6, about that mental attitude they might have started to think about Sydney. The last 5 or 6, have they started to believe again?
Well, I think they have, and I'm sure that they're going to go in at half-time now, thinking and looking for ways to counter this Australian side. One of the most obvious ways is to get down Australia's end of the field, because they're not playing a good field position game at all. But they are playing with enthusiasm, and that's very good.
There's a worry every time they raid away on this side of the field. They keep on getting caught short, New Zealand, so that will be a problem to be sorted out at half-time. You can't leave a gap for Langer. He nearly got that away to Salvatore on the outside. 2.5 minutes to the break. Steve Walters up the middle. Brown's got him. Now to Clyde. Clyde goes back in search of support on the inside. Eddinghausen to Geyer. Eddinghausen back around. No, it's Daly. Just outside the 22, one more tackle. A tired New Zealand side looking for the break at half-time. They need the ball. Salvatore's trap. Back to Jackson. They keep it alive. Eddinghausen loses it. Back it goes. He puts up the bomb. It should be taken. Just outside the in goal. Bodica will have it. Pushed towards the sideline. Unbelievably taken over the sideline on the first tackle.
Yeah, did Eddinghausen knock that ball on ground?
He called it a knock back. It was a line ball, and it was perilously close to the in goal, the bomb. So now they will have to hang on 90 seconds before half-time.
This is the most critical period of the game at the moment.
Holsworth having a chat to the pack, just keeping them apart. Langer looking for a clear tunnel, a quick play for Australia. Meninga. Low was Iro. He gets assistance from Freeman and also Bodica. Only 60 seconds. Jackson, one way then the next. Gillespie likewise. Steve Walters, much better defence as the line comes up both sides of the ruck. The Australians stack the left-hand side. Langer, Jackson inside. Now Daly, throwing everything into this final few seconds before half-time, both sides. New Zealand trying to hang on. Bella trying to bust them. 5 metres out. Back for Steve Walters. Try. Holsworth said it was knocked down by New Zealand.
Yeah, well, I thought it was knocked off.
Now, it's going to be interesting to tell the story on the replays. Bella caused problems on the fringe. The ball shot clear. Plenty of hands in there. Just which one was it? Green and gold or black and white? On the Cadbury-Morrow replay, Bella standing, breaking the tackle of Friend. Nikau went high, still clear, knocked down by Nikau, picked up by Walters.
Yeah, it certainly looked that way. But again, a strong run by Martin Bella there. They're going to have to try and pick him off closer to the ruck. Being allowed to stand like that, it's just going to be murder.
A hard job for Clayton Friend here. What he was doing in the line there, it should have been afforded to take Martin Bella. Unfortunately for New Zealand, knocked down. There's a try though.
I don't think that Nikau knocked that ball down. I think that Nikau hit Martin Bella's arm and Martin Bella shot the ball forward. I believe that was a knock-on. I'd like to see it again. We probably won't get the opportunity, but I believe that the in-goal touch judges, if they've got them, made errors there.
Incredibly vital. With only seconds left on the clock, that all happened. Meninga with this kick from out wide. This time he sprays it, but they will go to the break, enjoying a good scoreline. And it is 18 points to 6, but Australia have had all the ball, all the run of play. Everything has been going their way. Full of confidence they will be, but New Zealand, with the little possession they have had, Australia have had it for 77 tackles to 50 from New Zealand. But it is a different story in the opposition half. It is nearly 3-1 in favour of the Australians, and that has helped them with the scoreline to give them the confidence here at half-time. Big crowd at Lang Park for the Test match decider. The Ultimate Test Match Series, live and exclusive on 3 Sport, as the New Zealanders, the Lion Red Kiwis, go back to chat to Bob Bailey to try and turn it around after the break. The Australians lead by 12. We'll be back with a whole lot more here at Lang Park right after this. Don't go away. Possession, George Mann. He loses it. Incredibly, another bad start for New Zealand from the break. Clayton Trent was calling out that the ball was stolen. But not so for George Mann. Now Holsworth is calling out Gary Freeman, and he's saying, you let me referee this game. He wants the scrum to pack again.
Hello, Eggs.
Langer gets it to Jackson. Jackson wearing some taping around the head. Possible eye or
Sorry, mate. We've got Dean Lonergan standing by for a quick chat with
Daly,
you again.
Daly to Gaia. Gaia wide. Meninga. Meninga travelling to the corner. Wishart, they won't get him. Unbelievably bad start for New Zealand. They've just got to learn that you can't make mistakes at your own end.
Oh, it's diabolical for us, Graham. It's very disappointing, but again, you've said it. You've got to learn. You can't make those mistakes.
The handling errors, 5 in their own half made by New Zealand. Make it 6 as we start this one. The Cadbury Moro replay. Rod Wishart gets try number 2 in his Test career.
Well, again, Guy standing out wide there, giving it on to Meninga. You know, you just can't stop these big blokes if you're going to make mistakes that close to the line and give them those opportunities.
Well, New Zealand can't afford to do anything else wrong out here. What we're doing, we're staying inside the players. Guy was able to get on the outside of our players. What we've got to do, we've got to get on the outside of them, stop players like this getting over in the corner and scoring points.
But Huey, the whole thing's just down to mistakes, isn't it? You know, like it is very, very frustrating when you're sitting here watching that, because you can't deny the enthusiasm of the New Zealanders today. There has been plenty of enthusiasm. They're standing down there wondering what the hell's happened. Well, I'll tell them what's happened. They're making dumb mistakes that 8-year-old and 9-year-old players make. Brent Todd has tore his guts out for 2.5 games, and he's been let down by players around him making silly mistakes.
So Meninga again after this Wishart try. Right out on the sideline. The Australians with the perfect start to both halves. Meninga from the sideline. He's drilled another one. It is Meninga's Test match so far. The Australian skipper raises the flags all round the ground as the Kiwis come back for the restart. Let's take you down to Hugh McGahn. He's being joined by Dean Lonergan.
Dean, obviously the team very disappointed going into the match there, so after half-time. What were the comments by Bob?
Well, what Bob really stressed, and is something we didn't do just then, was ball security in our own 25. He said, we're still in this game. If we can score in the first 10 minutes and hold them out, you know, we're still a big chance. Obviously that hasn't happened. And the one thing he did stress was ball security in our own 22, and unfortunately we fumbled it in the first 2 seconds of the second half, and it has cost us.
Unfortunate, Dean, but thanks very much for your comment.
Well, the New Zealanders had to make all the first half tackles with the Australians enjoying so much possession. 88 tackles made by New Zealand, 64 by Australia. Dwayne Mann with 14, Nika with 12. The Australians only in single figures. Salvatore with 9, Gillespie with 8. But it is back to fundamentals for a New Zealand side who looked so entertaining, so good in the first test in Melbourne, hardly dropped a ball. Yet tonight here in Lang Park, 6 times they've fumbled in their own 22.
That try they scored, that great try that Jared McCracken scored, was scored for one main reason. They had good drives over to one side of the field. They spread the Australian defence, changed the angles with the return play. It resulted in a try. They've got to get away from this straight down the centre play. Get it over to one side, stretch the Australian defence, ping it back the other way. At the moment, they're just not putting enough pressure on the Australians.
George Mann taking it to the line. I'd like to see New Zealand with a share of possession similar to the Australians. Now George Mann takes them on again, but he loses it once more this time. Fortunately, it goes back into the support of Dwayne Mann. Friend stepping to Peter Brown. Brown to McCracken to Blackmore. Blackmore kicking over the head of Eddinghausen. An awkward bounce. And Blackmore chases his own kick and puts Eddinghausen down on the 22. Jackson wide, and he wants to go that way on the first. Wishart straightens. Clinging on was Mercer. Now Jackson. The support play from the Australians is quite brilliant.
It's very good. They're giving New Zealand a lesson on how to play, but I'd just like New Zealand to get a roll on for 10 minutes, try and maintain possession for 10 minutes, down Australia's end, you know, maintain good field position, just get a roll on for 10 minutes and see what happens if Australia is put under pressure. At this stage, they haven't been pressurised once in the match. I don't think that we've gone through a good set of 5 followed by a deep kick to the corner once in the game yet.
Now it's Clyde as they continue to use these big men out wide. Geyer and Clyde, players who can really match strides with 3/4. Jackson over the top and looked to go a touch forward, but he hasn't called him back. Bodiger to the in goal, he forces it. Now Holsworth allowed that to continue. I thought the ball from Jackson to Wishart, this one coming up here, went forward. Thrown one side of the line and taken well. He had to stretch right out for that, Wishart.
Yeah, it was marginal, but I don't think you can complain too much about it, Graham. It was a touch and go pass. But there's a lot at stake here. It was good work then by Frano, and I think a touchy decision that...
it was touchy whether he really got enough pressure down on that ball.
Yeah, well, the ref said he did, so that's fair enough.
You'll take it.
We'll take it.
Now the Australians come back.
You know, I think that I hope the New Zealanders are reminded that this is World Cup points here today. You're not just playing for the third test or the decider. It's World Cup points, and New Zealand can increase the tempo here. I know there's a big if. There's a lot of ifs in all games.
Look out, Daly charges onto it. Eddinghausen up the middle. Nikau gets there in time. 5 metres away, the Australians. Jackson, hungry for more tries. He's still only a couple of metres away. Running out of tackles. Geyer slips the ball. It's another try. I said it in Sydney. I'll say it in Brisbane. You can't play this game without the ball. Whilst you've got to keep on tackling, not for 80 minutes against a side as big and as strong as this. Geyer on a short blind side takes on 2 and 3. Beautiful ball round the back. That from that angle looked forward.
Yeah, it certainly did, but you know, it's the damage that these big fellas are doing out there. The referee said it was a fair try, so that's all that counts. Those big fellas standing out there are just creating havoc.
Sometimes, Graham, you just can't defend against class. That's all it was there with Mark Geyer. You can't defend against like that. You can't train for things like that. That was just sheer class by the man.
Again on the Cadbury Moro replay. The power of an Australian side that is starting to get itself in gear against this New Zealand side for vital World Cup points.
Still plenty of Kiwis, you know, giving us plenty of support out there. I was just going to say what we needed to do was try and increase the tempo when we had the football, but Australia took the wind out of their sails. And what I have to say now is I believe that New Zealand has got to make some immediate changes. Like, you might as well put at least 2 players on, make a change, try and alter the pattern, just get us back. We've got to basically play a touch football type style of game when we've got it.
Meninga has been deadly. 4 goals, I should say, and 1 try. A lot of the kicks from out wide. Again, that's the situation. This time, he doesn't have it on cue. The Australians now lead by 28 points to 6, nearly 10 minutes into the second half.
Huey, any sign of any replacements coming on at all there? Is anybody warming up, or what do you think the situation should be from now on?
Well, firstly, there aren't anyone warming up on the sideline. Everyone's a bit dull. They're on the bench. Unfortunate, but something that the rest of the players can't look out for. You can see them talking there on the sideline, but certainly disappointing for New Zealand. But we still haven't given up. Let's not give up. Let's not give in.
Well, it's not good defence here. Salvatore easily through the line. That might convince Bailey to make some changes. Bella. It's almost like since Sydney, the Australians have just grabbed the reins and decided to go.
Kiwis are shell-shocked at the moment, and while they're in that situation there, it is very, very difficult to overcome.
Look at this defence. Unfortunately for Blackmore, he was on the wrong foot, and from a chip and chase, they've picked up about 30 metres in defence.
Well, they're the areas there that I think New Zealand should attack from. Those changeovers immediately. I know we got knocked back quickly, but we should have attacked out to this near side wing immediately. Now it's too late.
Iro to the outside of Daly. The ball back for Nico. Now to Watson.
See, under pressure, Kevin was able to make quite a bit of ground there. If we had have attacked earlier, there was an opportunity. This is the type of play we have to put on.
George Mann, he has success out wide. He's going to have support too. Freeman inside. Freeman to the 22, much better.
Yeah, that's the type of play we've got to get on. Stretch them out wide.
Now, Willie Kahn penalised for putting the foot into Gary Freeman. Dropped his knees in the play of the ball. This is where New Zealand, with a fight back like this from Freeman, have got to keep their cool.
Well, Graham, as I was saying, I think that from turnovers, they've got to attack immediately. That ball from that turnover, even though it was good defence by Australia, they knocked us back 10 metres. It was rucked in once, then given out to Kevin on this side. If it was unloaded immediately, a try was on this near side of the field. As it turned out, when they offloaded, they nearly came up with one.
Well, here's the try chance now. Nico standing. They've shown if given enough possession, they can make their own holes. Mercer pushed the ball to Watson. Long ball back on the inside to Friend. Stepping. Now Bodica head down. Thrown to ground by Bella.
There's a bit of disorganisation in the Australian ranks in that defence now. It's because the ball's being chucked around. The angles are being changed. And New Zealand has got to do this for the final 20 or the final 15 minutes or so.
Back it comes. Freeman. They stand 10 metres out from the Australian line. Freeman wanting to go wide. It missed everybody. Bodica picks up the dregs. Last tackle. The Australian defence holds. Freeman, little fumble in the dummy half it looked like. Picked up by Wishart, hit around the throat by McCracken. Penalty against Freeman. Again, they let it slip at this end of the field. I've got to keep saying it. We're into test football, but I haven't seen so many fundamental mistakes.
That's right, Graham. You know, we're very lucky that Jared McCracken didn't get a 10-minute spell off the field for that. And like Gary at this stage, there's a lot of pressure on Gary, but he's got to just rally the fellas around him. You know, like it is pretty hopeless for us at the moment. But we can come back and make a big fight of this game, and it's going to take an inspirational talk and gathering of his troops by Gary. It's a lot of pressure on Gary's shoulders now, but we've got to move the ball around as we were doing in that previous phase and not follow it up by these silly blooming mistakes.
Well, the penalties have favoured the Australians in this one. They have those penalty count by 6-4. Now Koloto warms up and goes to the sideline as Meninga makes a break. Back it comes Jackson. He handballs it back out to Kahn. Clyde. The Australians enjoying so much possession. Every time they look up, there is somebody there to take on with the ball. Short blindside. Last tackle, Daly back to Steve Walters. He kicks it back to his own team. Bella to Eddinghausen, breaks one tackle, puts up a midfield bomb. No one's under it now. Bodica is. Bodica to the outside of Clyde, but he can't get away from him. Huey, the change for New Zealand.
Yes, and Mosi Colato on the sideline warming up for Gary Mercer. Apparently Gary has hurt an AC joint. It's troubling him out there. He's come off there, as we see on the sideline. What effort he did give out there was well worth it.
He tried hard, especially in the first 40. Now he goes sideline with that problem shoulder. Todd looking for support. Iro. He gets away from Wishout. Can't get away from Meninga. The ball comes back to George Mann. Dwayne Mann. Dummies. Steps. Still stepping. Friend, here's a chance. Nikau, if he can get it wide. The pass took too much time to get out to Blackmore. He had to stop for it. But he still unloads to Colodo.
But again, it's that stretching type play, that elastic type play that's giving New Zealand success, and they've got to ensure they keep doing it. Colodo's come on the field now. He's a fresh player. There's a lot expected of Colodo. There's been clubs over here, ours one of them, chasing after him for his talents. And he's got to, this is the type of game that now Colodo's got to come into his own, because he's a wide runner.
6 more tackles. They don't have to keep it alive. Nothing silly. Colodo just gets there in time. They've got 6 more. I think they thought it was still the last and they needed to push it. Now, Todd, he's the experienced one. He can settle it down. Give them time to set themselves.
There's space on that other side of the field if they get it there quick enough.
Watson, round the back for Bodica. Mann taps it back. Now, what's he playing? Now, he's playing a knock-on against New Zealand. Remarkable call from Holsworth. I can't work it out. If there's anybody from England who knows all about English referees, maybe you can. Jackson. Now that's a knock-on, and we all know what's going on. Jackson says that, no, I don't. Bob Fulton hiding behind some fans high up in the stand in the Australian camp. The scrum stats, all the stats here at Lang Park seem to favour Australia. They have the scrums 5-2, make it 5-3 now. Blackmore into the clear, grabbed by one leg from Clyde. He was gone. What a tackle from Clyde, but he will be penalised. Now, why isn't that a professional foul? Why doesn't he get 10 minutes in the bin for stopping the roll-on? Coloto. I'm going to say it here and now. We are calling for neutral referees in test matches at a time when maybe the best referees will do no matter what country they're from.
That's right.
Freeman.
Those players are not onside. Those Australian players are not onside.
New Zealand trying to get back into this series, trying to find some points. But again, those handling problems that concern Bob Bailey at half-time have stayed with him and his team in the second half. There's still over 22 minutes remaining in this deciding test match, but with 22 minutes, they need 22 points.
Well, they just need sound defence at the moment, Graham. They've got to go all-out defence, try and maintain this field position, get back to passing the ball from one side to the other, force the areas like that, just scramble and never mind what the tackles look like.
The Australians have caught the disease.
Yeah, well, that's because they've been put under pressure. You know, like if you there's no one immune to it. If you harass, you put them under pressure, you cough up the ball. They're called cough drops.
And you and I are battling with flu at the moment too. Now, let's get it straight. It was you who kissed me and I didn't kiss you.
Yeah, well, you've been talking that much lately.
Now, there's no loss of passion here either. Holsworth is going to call Langer over. A little bit of an exchange here from a couple of the small men. But Holsworth is wasting too much time here too. New Zealand don't want to waste too many seconds. Now, it was Langer who made the tackle on Friend, wrestled him to the ground. Friend resented it. Maybe Holsworth had already called for him to play the ball. He had. That's what it was.
Played French, just showing Alan Langer that before Alan Langer was heard of, he was one of the top halfbacks, or if not the top halfback in the world. And if Langer's not careful, he's going to take that title off him right here and now.
I can't believe it. First tackle from a tap restart. The pressure was put on from a daily tackle, and they handed back to the Australians. The story of the night here at Lang Park for New Zealand. There is still so much football left in this match, but they can't put it together. They have dug their own grave so far. Gaia. But if you give them a chance, this is a stunning Australian side in attack. They can lay tries on from anywhere. They have players 6 foot and over, nearly all over the paddock, that can motor onto it just like that. Asini Faimalo is also warming up for New Zealanders. Langer chips ahead, gets it back, puts Jackson away. A touch of brilliance. That passes forward. Now Holsworth has got this one. Wishart can forget about the celebrations. Maybe he'll be told shortly. Now the crowd hate it, but the ball was weighted forward, and Holsworth got this one. Now Langer made the break. The angle from the head on is not going to do any justice to it, but it was some brilliant play from Langer. Jackson heard the call out wide, but he couldn't get the ball there correctly.
I think that should have been a penalty to New Zealand then, because that was a deliberate forward pass in my opinion.
Well, now we've got Clayton Friend called over. They were in possession. The advantage has been lost once more. Holsworth lays down the law, and Australia will have a very easy shot at 2 points, but Meninga wants his side to give some entertainment to the fans, or does he? Yes, he does. He's going to send it to the sideline. There was a give me 2 points in Test football. The Australians are going to get greedy and go for 6. Langer to Bella. The big man keeps on working. Put to ground by Brown. Salvatore likewise up the middle. He was stopped by Colodo and Brown. Still just near the posts. Crisscross runners, Meninga. They force him back 10 and 12 metres away from the line. Good defence.
It was great defence then, good pressure.
Langer. Langer on the fringe to Gaia. Gaia can't get it away. Australia have 6 more. No. Knocked on originally by the Australians. They argue. So Faimalo goes on. Gaia was charging into a gap. The ball looking to go back there, and picked up by the Australians. He called it knock on. Peter Brown is the man to lead the field for Faimalo. Boddicker into the line, taken by Eddinghausen, picked up and put down a second time as Brown leaves the field. Blackmore brings it away. Brown with his last look at the test decider.
Both Faimalo and Amosi Colodo are wide-running attacking players, and they're the sort of players that are needed now. Just get out wide. New Zealand's got to chuck the ball out wide, offload in the tackle. They're not going to win this game. We've got to be realistic about it, but we can come out of it with a hell of a lot more pride.
Faimalo with his first touch, nearly on halfway. Very wide as Nikau. To Mann on the run around. Nikau still, that was a pass that was handed to a man in an offside position, but Holsworth allows the advantage. I can't believe that they can't get the ball cleanly to the likes of Iro and McCracken, who are 2 champions.
I said earlier in the telecast, Graham, I think that Kevin and Jared McCracken have been sitting out in the centres waiting for the ball. The way the game's evolved, I think they should have been chasing for it a lot more. But
well, the only clean ball I think that McCracken has handled, there was 4 points on the end of it.
Yeah, that's right.
Langer, they all took the dummy. This looks like try time. Perfect execution. If you are going to lay on a try, if somebody's going to run to a gap, you've got to have support inside and out. That's why the posts are there, to have them scored under the black dot. They're guilty of making mistakes, New Zealand, but this side is an exceptionally good one at making you pay. Everybody stayed off the little man. He destroyed them in Sydney, and on this occasion, he has destroyed them with the help of Jackson and Eddinghausen on the Canberra-Moro replay.
Again, it's that man, Alan Langer, because the option that he has on the inside wasn't taken off him. He passes the ball back on the inside there to Jackson, who is a good player, great ball distributor, giving it to Eddinghausen. Nobody's going to stop him in that position there. It's a great Australian try.
Meninga will have this one from right in front. And New Zealand, after winning so well in Melbourne, seemingly have lost the plot in the rugby league states, more known for the code of Sydney and Brisbane. Meninga having a field day. The Australians reminding the rugby league world of how good they are at the present time. Bob Bailey thinking of what might have been, and the Australians now take it to 34 points to 6, 14 and a half minutes remaining in the second half.
Graham, it is disturbing, isn't it, when you see the damage that New Zealand can do by moving the ball out wide. The first try that they scored was from stretching them over to one side of the field, bringing it back the other, changing the angles on the brittle defence. It brought them success, but they unfortunately keep reverting back to taking it down to the centre.
Well, I've got to say that they were guilty of helping themselves get into a whole heap of trouble in Sydney, and a number of decisions have gone against them tonight, but again it is still their own fundamental play that has really started to dig the grave.
It is. I've been very critical of the Kiwis earlier in the week. I felt that the Pride and a few other odds and ends left a lot to be questioned, but I must say they have come up with effort-wise, they've come up with what's required. But the skill factor-wise and the concentration that's required for Test football is just not there.
Well, they go to sleep again in Australia. Plenty of support. Jackson, he threw that forward. Now, I don't know if Meninga overran him. It happened so quick. The replay will tell the story. It was a definite forward pass. Don't worry about that. Good play from Langer. They leave him alone again. The gap just opened up. Jackson on the inside. He fumbled. He threw it forward. Referee was perfectly positioned. Meninga thought he might have had a try. Try number 2 it would have been in this test. Blackmore loses the ball. McCracken leaves the field. Dwayne Mann bounced out of a big shoulder charge to keep the ball alive. Faimalo. So one of their stars, one of the key men off the paddock, one of the destroyers in attack, puts more pressure on everybody still on the field. Dwayne Mann back to Faimalo. Freeman. How quickly things can change in any sport. The elation after the Melbourne upset, and now a hammering in Sydney, and another great Australian performance, and New Zealand hammered once more in Brisbane. Freeman on halfway. Back it comes. Dwayne Mann looking for some space to put the kick in. One bounce he'll get over the sideline, but it scrums is not what they need. They need the errors from the Australians, and they need a ton of possession to put some respectability back into the scoreline.
I think one thing this game shows, Graham, and it's come out over the series, even in the first game, the strength of the Winfield Cup, the concentration that comes out from the Winfield Cup is well and truly obvious in these last 2 games. Like, there's only a couple of Winfield Cup players out there in the New Zealand side. I think that does make a huge difference.
Now, the penalty going against Willie Kahn for wrestling with Gary Freeman. New Zealand get a chance with some possession. Jason Williams is out there. Todd now. Chance at a try for New Zealand. Faimalo running one out, easy pickings for the Australian forwards. Friend switching the play to Nikau. He's taken by Gaia 10 metres away still. Looking for their second try, New Zealand. Watson, run around with Friend. Coloto, he gets it back for Friend, but they've lost about 20 metres. Iro, taken quickly by Daly, and he got plenty of support from Clyde. Friend to Watson. Watson nowhere to go but switch it back to Friend. Quickly to Kevin Iro. Gillespie's there. The ball came off the Australians. The ball came off the Australians. New Zealand have 6 more. Nikau finding it hard to bust this strong line of Australia. Not now though. Watson ankle tapped as he was going through. Dwayne Mann to Friend. Some frantic play here. Good bounce for Bodica. Jason Williams on Willie Carney. Can't get away from him, but he is only 5 metres away. Desperate for this second try. Freeman to first receiver. Inside to Todd. Hammered by 3 Australians. Friend once more to the back line. Iro with some room. He can't beat Daly. It has been an engrossing duel between the two of them. Nika to Friend, to the in goal from Freeman. Jackson forces it, trying to break up some variety. The Australians will come back with the line dropout. Huey McGahn has joined Jared McCracken sideline.
Thanks, Graham. Yes, Jared, I know it'd be disappointing out there with the result, but it also disappointing coming off in a test match. What's the actual extent of your injury?
Well, the first 5 minutes I hurt my shoulder in a tackle, and it just wasn't the same. I felt weak on that side tackling, and it was for the benefit of the side. I come off and get someone, fully fit out there.
What do you think our problems are out there tonight?
Oh, well, we're not really moving up in the line, and we're missing a few first-up tackles, and defence is the name of the game, and if they miss first-up tackles, they get a roll on, and they've been scoring out wide, which is not too good for the New Zealand side.
Disappointing, Jared. Thanks for talking to us.
Okay, Hugh.
So McCracken will now have to think about the Winfield Cup and his Canterbury team's chances at the semi-finals. Salvatore. I think McCracken probably said it all. The only thing he didn't probably add was the handling mistakes.
Yeah, well, again, it's back to the Winfield Cup experience, Graham. Like these New Zealand players, there's quite a number of them have come from not very strong sides in the Northern Hemisphere, and I think it's just telling now. I think that I'm a strong believer in getting as many New Zealanders as possible in the Winfield Cup, because I think it would strengthen us internationally. This is just showing up that argument, because the Winfield Cup players, as Todd,
he probably shows more than most that you've got to keep going for the full 80.
Well, he experiences it week in, week out. He's played grand final football. He knows what it's all about. The other fellas have not got the ability to concentrate.
Well, here's a chance. Here's a chance. Iro to Blackmore. Blackmore gets it. I think Iro could just about have scored himself. That adds another try with about 7 minutes remaining. But it looks all too little and too late, but they have not stopped trying. Blackmore is one player that has emerged from this series with a great test career ahead of him. Brent Todd on a short blindside on the Kadri Moro replay. Iro beating 2. He probably could have reached out himself. Blackmore cleverly the way he kept control with one hand.
Well, again, moving the ball was the thing there, creating two on one. A good forward ruck to start with. Kevin Iro, too big, too strong, giving the ball to Richard Blackmore, and that close to the line, it's going to be 4 points all the time.
Again, all this lead-up work came from just a change of direction by the Tawera Nikau. Came from different sides of the field. Again, the second play of the ball, Kevin Iro showed his class, and Blackmore just showed his strength.
Bella replaced in the Australian lineup. A great series for him from the second and third tests. Now Bodica, the former All Black, from the sideline. He shows his skills late in this decider. From way out wide, he gets the goal. that sends New Zealand into double points. But it is still a long way away. Australia leading here by 34 points to 12. Meninga back to halfway. And a lot of people back home in New Zealand, Lowie, are going to say, we threatened in the first test, we threatened to do something very special. Where does New Zealand Rugby League go from here?
Well, I think New Zealand Rugby League has got to look much closer at allowing their up-and-coming players, their top players, to play in the Winfield Cup competition, because it just shows out every time we play Australia, the experience, the concentration that's required at this level, it's just not up to scratch unless you've been in the Sydney competition, unless you are up to the levels of play week in, week out, as these Australian guys are.
Dwayne Mann now showing some skills. Kiwi, your thought about next year, next season ahead for New Zealand?
Well, I think New Zealand, as Graham said, have got to have a few more players in this Winfield Cup competition. We've seen in this series so far the experience by Brent Todd and Gary Freeman and Clayton Friend obviously already played in this competition. That experience shows, and that's what New Zealand need in the future, and hopefully New Zealand League will look at something like that.
They give it back pretty easy to Australia here, and Wishart comes up with the reply. Langer, quick hands in the back line, beautiful hands from Daly, forward from Geyer. Mile forward to Meninga, that pass. It is still play on though. Back to Khan. Who wants to put the man down with the ball? Daly trying to smell out a try on the end of this. Johns finished off just outside the 22. So some of the Australian replacements out there. Brent Todd off the field for New Zealand. Daly to Cartwright. Cartwright a one-hander to Eddinghausen. Eddinghausen looking for a second try. 12 metres away from the line. Langer. Geyer. Flicks it out the back for Langer. Eddinghausen. Wrestled to the ground by George Mann. Just one more tackle for the Australians. Langer looking for a ball runner. Roberts is there. It was on the inside if Hasler could handle it, but he couldn't. New Zealand have it, and they come away with it through Watson. The ball being thrown everywhere now. Both sides looking for tries. Chance for New Zealand. Iro. It is a chase from Wishart. Now Blackmore. Blackmore restarts. Beats Wishart. Salvatore intercepts just when there was 2 and 3 New Zealanders there in support. Now there's only about 2.5 minutes left. Hopefully, in a test series like this that blew up in Sydney, there won't be any frustrations that creep in.
Yeah, well, I think that you said when Blackmore coughed it up when there was 2 or 3 Australians in support. The thing was, Blackmore coughed it up when the pressure was on, and that's what New Zealand has done all the time. They've played right into Australia's hand. Australia hasn't had to do it a lot themselves to receive the advantages that they have been doing. Like the ball was coughed up then, not because Australia was there. New Zealand was. The ball was coughed up because it was under pressure. It's a harsh thing to say, but it's a fact.
Now Geyer into full speed, as is Meninga. Clayton Friend is beaten. Meninga back on the inside, beautifully taken by Daly. Nikau won't get him. Spectacular try, one end to the other. It has been a tough series for Australia after Melbourne because they went in search of the right balance for the World Cup. Wally Lewis is no longer on the Australian scene. Players like Steve Roach have been replaced. The Cadbury Moro replay will probably tell us about the future of Australian Rugby League. Players like Geyer getting that ball to Meninga. Meninga maybe will be still around for the World Cup. But definitely a player like Laurie Daly, who really has the potential to be maybe the best in the world.
Yeah, he has, Graham. It's I'm sure all the young people watching the game over in New Zealand will see the skills these fellows are exploiting. Like Geyer there, he's so big, strong. Meninga, He's 30 years old now, 31 years old, but look at him, he's playing with vibrancy. Laurie Daly there, he is one of the finest players in the world. He's going to be one of the finest players in the world for a long time yet, and I think he's a good example to all young players watching back in New Zealand to what you can be, what you can achieve if you try hard.
That's exactly right, and the Australians have got their minds on the job since Sydney. 7 tries tonight, and Meninga again from in front. He adds 2 more points, and the Australians have a scoreline now that keeps them happy at Lang Park here for sure. 40 points to 12. That's all there is. They finish with a flourish, the Australians. Mal Meninga, it might be emotional for him. This could be his last test match at Lang Park. Martin Bella celebrates with Craig Salvatore, a brand new Australian front row. New Zealand, I couldn't agree more with Huey McGann and Graham Lowe's comments as we see the players swapping jumpers. Auckland and New Zealand have got to get involved in the Winfield Cup. Disappointment for Brent Todd tonight, but hopefully the Australian Rugby League will bring them in, give them their chance to expand. Players like Freeman have tasted it. The Australians taste it week in and week out. They couldn't keep it going since.
Good game, mate. Thanks, mate.
But
I think as New Zealanders, we've got to take our hats off to Australia because they've showed us what skill, speed, dedication's all about. Toddy's got nothing to feel disappointed about. He's given his guts, as is Gary Freeman there. But as Kiwis, we've got to take our hats off and congratulate Australia because they've played fine football over the last 2 games and really showed us what professional rugby league is all about.
Yeah, you said it all. It's a great Australian side. It is not embarrassing to be beaten by them when they are in such tremendous form. Brent Todd was looking disappointed. Let's go down now with Clint Brown. He's sidelined with Todd.
Okay, Brent Todd, just how bad is the shoulder injury, mate?
I felt it in the first half, and every tackle I went into, I could feel it pulling the muscles on my neck, and my neck's pretty stiff, so I've done the AC joint or something the doctor reckons, so I just have to ice it now and go back to Canberra and cop it sweet.
What's your reaction to the loss tonight and the effort of the Kiwis in the Test series?
Well, I thought the guys put in a lot better effort tonight compared to Sydney. They went out there pretty committed. Just that the Australians played absolutely awesome again, and I don't know how we're going to stop them. It's going to be tough, but full credit to the Australians. They played very well, I thought.
The commentators are talking about we need more players like yourself and Jared McCracken in the Winfield Cup to improve our standard. Do you think that's the right move for the future of New Zealand League?
Well, I think so. I mean, we play against this sort of stuff week in and week out, and this is just it's sort of another club game. And these guys, they're a lot faster than our guys, and they showed it out there. And I think a few more players in the Winfield Cup would help it immensely.
Okay, Brent Todd, thanks for talking to us. And we're just trying to grab the Kiwi captain, Gary Freeman, who's sitting over here. Gary, bad luck tonight, mate. I know the boys played with a lot of commitment out there. What did you think of the effort by the Kiwis?
Oh, it was a great effort, mate, but, we just really fell down again when we made too many mistakes in the first half again, and even in the second half we just dropped ball and it was just one of those nights, mate, where everything went wrong for us again. It's just, I don't know, we trained real well over the week and put a lot of effort into our defence. Well, I suppose when you've got to make twice as many tackles as the opposition, it's very hard to sort of get anything in attack. We made a few breaks and the pass just went to ground, or there was just an Aussie there. It was just one of those nights, mate.
What about the refereeing tonight?
Mate, it's the way it goes, you can't change the score. The score's there, it doesn't matter what the man in red does.
Do you think getting a team into the Winfield Cup like Auckland would be good for New Zealand League from now on?
Yeah, I think it'd be great for New Zealand Rugby League in general, and for the public back there to see what sort of preparation goes into preparing for just a Winfield Cup game. And then there's another step up for a test series, so I think it'd be great for the players back there to sort of experience the mental things that you have to go through to prepare yourself.
Okay, Gary Freeman, thanks for talking to us. Right behind we have Kiwi coach Bob Bailey. Bob, disappointment tonight. What did you think about that performance?
Well, I don't think the referee did too good a job of it. I don't think he was up with play enough. He might have to go and get himself a bit fitter. There was that many forward passes thrown. I couldn't believe how many that were let go. So that's the way I look at the game. But all the best to Australia anyway. And Laurie Daly, he's a good mate of mine. Thank you, Laurie. Yeah, mate. Yeah. Thank you, Laurie.
Okay, there's a nice moment with Laurie Daly wanting to have a beer with Bob Bailey after the game. You said before the game you thought the refereeing could be crucial. Which part of the refereeing really annoyed you the most?
Well, how many forward passes did he let go? Most of those forward passes created tries. You know, I'm very disappointed he's refereeing tonight. I don't usually blame referees, but he's a bit slow to keep up with the game, and that was the problem there tonight.
What about the silly mistakes by the Kiwis early on?
Well, all right, your team makes mistakes. We didn't go out there to make mistakes, but you know, I mean, they get awarded a try just on half-time there that was costly. They said the ball come off in New Zealand. It didn't come off in New Zealand, it came off an Australian arm.
Okay, overall, your thoughts on the series and the performance by the Kiwis in the 3 test matches?
Well, I thought we played well the first and we lost the next 2, so that's the way it goes. There's not much more you can say about that.
Okay, Bob Bailey, thanks for talking to us tonight. And let's go back to Graham Hughes just to wrap up the final score analysis with the 3rd and final test, won by Australia with the decider at Lang Park.
Thank you, Clint. 40-12 to Australia. Khan, Meninga, Walters, Wishart, Clyde, Eddinghausen, Daly tries. 6 goals to Meninga. And for New Zealand, McCracken and Blackmore, the try scorers, 2 goals to Frano Bodica. And of course, the presentation now of the 4X International Trophy. This test was battled out by the 4X Kangaroos and the Lion Red Kiwis to make the presentation. We'll take you down now. And of course, Mal Meninga, a great moment coming up for him.
Well, tonight, I'm sure you will agree with me that saw rugby league at its finest.
That's Frank Burnett speaking there, the managing director of 4X. And they've been marvellous sponsors for the game.
Gary Freeman,
I think they've done a fantastic job for not only for the state of origin up here with Queensland and helping my lot out, but also backing the Australian Rugby League and being the major sponsor for this series.
Well, you gave us one hell of a shock.
Well,
but I know
he's talking to a very biased Lang Park crowd, and Meninga will be making his way up to accept the trophy.
The captain of the 4X Kangaroos.
We've got sponsors, of course, that have looked after us right throughout the series. Cadbury Moro, who have put in a tremendous amount of support for this test series. Ansett New Zealand, who really is the #1 airline back home. I know it's your favourite, Lowy, and we thank them for their support. The Kiwis, of course, will be back.
That's Hemi Tower, Graham. That's Hemi Tower. He's travelled long and hard and wide, and he's one of the legends of the Kiwi side. Gary Freeman there, mate. He's had a hard job as captain of the Kiwi side the last couple of games, but I think we can feel proud of him. I've given the Kiwis a bag in the last week, mate, but you know, I know we got flogged today, but I think they responded well with good, strong effort, and that's the main thing. You know, like, pride is to do with performance. Our performance wasn't up to scratch today, but there was effort.
Well, let's take you back now, because Mal Meninga, this marvellous moment for him in what could be his last test, will walk up to accept the 4X International Trophy and speak to a crowd that have taken him to his heart.
Frank, Ken Arthurson, ladies and gentlemen, first I'd like to thank the Brisbane, the Queensland crowd for coming here and supporting us tonight. Thanks very much for your support. To the Australian team, you know, these guys were great tonight. Makes me proud to lead us out there in Lang Park tonight, and it was a tremendous effort. We could have easily been complacent, but the attitude and commitment on the football field tonight just marks another era, I believe, in Australian Rugby League. To Bozo and the management, thanks very much for the last 3 tests. You've done a great effort. I just hope that we can stay together for a long, long time. To the Kiwis, thanks very much. You certainly scared us after the first test in Melbourne, but unfortunately there can only be one winner, and I'm just glad it was us. Thanks, and lastly, of course, I should thank 4X for the wonderful support in rugby league they give, and just hope that 4X can remain a part of Australian Rugby League for a long, long time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Mal. And also, Mal receives a special commemorative plaque, and all the boys in the team, for the first time, a special initiative on behalf of the 4X company. Each member of both the winning and losing sides will receive a commemorative plaque. So can we call up all the Australian boys to receive their commemorative plaque from Frank Burnett?
So the Australians have wrapped up the Ultimate Test Series 2-1. Going into this match, it was all tied up with the World Cup points, 8 apiece for the Australians and the New Zealanders, but the Australians had 2 games in hand, but played only 4. So at this stage now, with the World Cup points update, it means Australia, the world champions, go to the top of the table with 10 points after 5 games. New Zealand have 8 points after 7 games, followed by Great Britain with 6, and then come France and Papua New Guinea. So a classy performance by the world champion Kangaroos tonight, confirming their status as the World Cup champions, going to the front of the World Cup points table with this decider at Lang Park. There's Laurie Daly holding up the 4X trophy. Martin Bella, a big night tonight. Hugh McGann, your thoughts about this Test Series?
Well, I think when we look at the final analysis and look at the way the games actually went, it was a lopsided affair. After the first one, as we've always said, that the first one promised so much. The Kiwis really shouldn't be disgraced with their performance. A few things went against them tonight, a few refereeing decisions, as we mentioned earlier. But they're still, just looking at the players as they're walking through, they've still got their heads up, which is pride. They still feel pride in themselves, pride in being New Zealanders and Kiwis. That can never ever be taken away from them. That's evident, as I said, by them keeping their heads up tonight. But overall, a series that we can learn a lot from.
If we had to pick out a Ubix MVP player of the series, who would you go for from the Kiwis, Hugh?
Well, at the moment, I probably wouldn't go too much past Jared McCracken. Certainly he didn't play the second test, but we knew how much we missed him in that. He played a strong role again tonight until his injury pulled him off. But a player of the future, I really couldn't go much past him. If I was to go for anyone, I'd take it to Brent Todd for his tireless work, which did go unheralded. But if I was to go for anyone, in just saying that, Brent Todd, because of the work that he did. And as I said, I forgot all about him because he's that type of player.
Okay, just apologise for that rude Australian just working the shot there, but that's one of those things. Here's Gary Freeman with his acceptance speech after the defeat from the Australians.
Ladies and gentlemen, George Rainey, Mr. Ken Arthurson, other distinguished guests that are here today. Just on behalf of the Lion Red 1991 Kiwi side, I'd like to congratulate Mal Meninga and his side for a 2-1 victory. They played superbly in those second and third tests. I'd like to also just quickly touch on our players. I thought we played extremely well down in Melbourne, and we were probably a little bit unlucky that if you give the ball to the Australians too many times and you've got to keep on tackling, it makes it very hard to attack. And to my boys, we did our best tonight. We did ourselves proud, did New Zealand proud, and I'd just like to thank them on behalf of myself and the New Zealand Rugby League, and congratulations again to the Australian Rugby League team.